Hey everyone, welcome to this channel. Today I want to talk about the AXIIO system. And this is an awesome brand from Australia. And I'm going to do a quick video on how the system works, how you control it, and who it is for. So they market it as a modular system, but I want to market it as the fastest slider you can get for this price range, because this thing can fly really fast, especially compared to the AXIIIO slider and the AXIIIO and also the iFootage, or the classic one that you know, the Rhino. This goes super fast, but I'm going to show you some examples. But before, I'm going to show you how this works. So everything is being controlled by the app, and it is a really good app. Once you get to know it, it is fairly easy to use and pretty instinctive, which is what I like, but mostly it doesn't crash. And that is what I'm really happy about. It was my big worry at first, but this really is super stable, even though it's still in beta version. So I'm going to show you how this thing works. Let me take the camera off. Let me take the lens off first. So these are the AXIIIO motors. And this is what will be controlling every single axis of this rig. And depending on the wheel that you put, this is the big one, this will make the slider go faster. And if you want more strength, then you put the small wheel. So this can be a classic focus motor that you put on your lens to zoom or to focus, or even to change the aperture. So these motors will be controlling all the movements. So we've got one over here for the tilt that is attached to the tilt head axis. Then we have one on the bottom here, and they both have the small wheels because we don't need that speed. It's already super fast. And then we control the slider by having the motor on the pancake. This one you can use a rope system, and you have another one that you can choose from that has a belt system. And here's the pancake head with the motor attached to it on the slider. And you can put it on and take it off with just one lever. And this is the motor on the tilt axis. Very easy, very quick way to set up your motors. And AXIIIO has been very open about making this system as toolless as possible. So you'll probably never need a tool for your everyday usage. And the other good news is that they're using the same type of clamp across the system. So you won't have to use tools if you just want to quickly modify the rig. The cables can get in the way every now and then, but you get used to them after a bit. And same thing for the camera if you want to slide it left or right, you use that same clamp. And that's why it's modular, because you can take the motors off and put them on your lens if you need to focus the motor or to zoom. You don't have to buy another system or another motor because it is just removable. And it's much cheaper to do it that way too. If you had to have one that is built into it, then it would be much more expensive, and then you would have to buy another motor for your lenses. And all these four motors are controlled by this one controller here. And you have one power cord that powers everything in here, which is pretty cool. You got the four motors that are plugged in on the bottom, you've got the power cable here, you've got the antenna here, and then the trigger for the camera. And I've set the AXIIIO app to start recording the camera 1 second before the start of the move, and to stop it 1 second after it's done with the move, which is really cool. And that way there's no way that I can forget to record the camera while I'm doing the move, which I have done before. And also it saves me a lot of space because it stops recording right after. And obviously sometimes you can forget to stop recording, so that's pretty handy. And these motors can carry a lot of weight and move super fast. And that's what's crazy about the system, is the speed at which it can travel compared to any other sliders on the market. I believe that this is the fastest one. I haven't seen anyone that can go faster than that for maybe under 10,000, or I don't know. But definitely one of the fastest sliders out there. And who I think this is aimed at is the people that are doing commercials, food commercial for example, that need super slow motion shots with movements in them. Because if you're doing super slow motion and you don't have any speed on your slider, there won't be any movement in the shot. And here's some examples of the AXIIIO versus the AXIIIO. So here's what the AXIIIO looks like in action, and because I didn't set the ease in and out, It is banging on each side, so it is not the ideal setup. I wasn't aware that I could do that, but I still got some great shots. This is what the AXIIIO pawn looks like with the pawn heads attached to them. Super slow, really slow. And this was shot with the AXIIIO, going at full speed, but banging on the side because I didn't set it up properly. Because I did not set the ease in and out at the start and the end of the slider. It was shaking a lot on both ends, so the guy from AXIIIO told me that I needed to do that, and unfortunately I didn't have time to test that out again, but I still got some nice 4-second shots, super slow motion, with some movement in it. And if you think that this is still slow, look at the difference between this shot and the next one, shot with the AXIIIO pawn at full speed, and it is taking 1 minute 28 seconds to travel the same distance with the AXIIIO pawn as the 4-second shot taken with the AXIIIO, which is insanely slow. I did do a test where I sped up the 1 minute 28 second shot to 4 seconds, and it showed me that I sped it up to 2200%, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. And I'm not going to make you watch this whole 1 minute and 28 seconds, so I'm just going to show you the timeline and how much time there's left. I'm not even halfway there. So let's jump to the same clip, but sped up 2200%. And I want to show you this because some of you will tell me, well, why don't you just speed up the footage, Duncan? Well, when there's some action in the shot, like the flames and the smoke, everything will be sped up as well, and it's just going to look bad. So here it is. And that is what I was referring to. Look at the flames, they're going crazy, the smoke as well. It just doesn't look good and natural. That's why you cannot just speed up any footage. Here are 3 more samples shot with the AXIIIO system. And I've added some post-stabilization to them to make them look as good as possible. We've got some nice movement in a video shot at 200 frames per second. Now the question is, who is this aimed for? And will I use this every day? My answer is no, this is definitely not something that I would use because it is not something that is super quick to set up. And what I mean by that is that you need to practice setting up the motors and getting used to the app as well. And when I use sliders, it's just for interviews, very simple things. But I definitely could rent this for shoots where I need very fast motion, when I'm doing slow motion shots, for example, because there's nothing out there really that can do this kind of speed. And this is pretty much aimed at someone that has its own studio, that needs to do some fast slow motion shots, and that is willing to learn how to use the system. And I think this is also aimed at DIY guys that wants a system that is modular and that can really make their own rig if they need to, or configure the rig as they want to. And that's why I think this is a really cool system, and I've accepted to do this review. I'm not being paid, I'm not keeping this system as well, but I love the guy. They're a really cool team, and right from the start really got along. And we've been chatting for about a year or so, and I finally received it. And unfortunately I couldn't spend that much time testing it out as much as I wanted to because I'm super busy these days. I wasn't a year ago, I am now. So that's it for this review. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Go and check them out on Indiegogo. Their campaign stops, I think, on the 17th, 16th or 19th of November. Go and check their website as well and their YouTube channel. They have some samples of shot that they did with this. You can do some really cool, very precise motion using this rig that you cannot do with a gimbal, for example. But anyway, that's it for me, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and consider subscribing to my channel. Hit the thumbs up if you want to help out, and leave a comment in the comment section. It also helps with the algorithm. And I'll see you in the next one.